Hello and welcome back. I'm Wimpy, welcome to my world. Thank you for joining me again in this live stream. This one's a bit different. I actually don't know how to do the thing I'm about to do. So I'm leaning heavily on those of you in the chat room to point me in the right direction. I could be working on something Ubuntu Mate related this evening, but the problem is the Ubuntu Mate community is wonderful and they've really got hold of everything important right now. And I've just had one of those days and I wanted to sit down in front of a computer and do something, well, selfishly for me, but I say for me, just something that I wanted to explore and have some fun with. So here we are. I apologise for the low fidelity video. Oh my goodness, it's really busted. It's really busted, the whole video thing. I'm actually going to try and fix that now. Oh, look at that. Look at that. See, it was broken and now it's not, as if by magic. So welcome back. The plan is this. In recent streams, I've been tinkering with a pet project called Quickemu, which is a way to run qemu virtual machines with minimal effort. And my friend Alan Pope has made a snap. He made a snap of macOS, and I was looking at that and I was like, that's really interesting. And I've run it up because recently I did buy a Mac laptop in order to experiment with macOS, in order to evaluate, what I felt they were doing right and maybe what they're not doing right. It's a bit maybe arrogant, but I wanted to have a look at what was going on there. So given the opportunity to run macOS in a virtual machine, well, that was kind of interesting, and I see what Alan has done there, and it's very clever, and I would like to be able to do the same on an ad hoc basis. So that's the point of this evening's stream. Now, as always, it's very much focused on you, and I'm looking over here. I'm pointing in this direction because that's where my screen is. So I'm just going to go and look at what's going on in the chat because I want to say hello to the people that turn up and participate in this and say hello. It's not just about me. It absolutely isn't about me. It's about all of us working together, and very much this evening, please help me make this a success. So I'm going to look in the live stream, see what's going on. So there are lots of good friends from various projects in the Linux and Ubuntu open source project that I recognize in the chat this evening. So let's go through some of them. I'm going to scroll back to the top, some of which you won't see if you're watching this after the fact. But UBports was the first in the chat this evening. UBports is the continuation of Ubuntu Touch. They picked up that mantle and they're making a mobile operating system for mobile, a fully open source mobile operating system for touch devices. Explorer, hello. I think this is the first time I've seen you in these chats, but welcome along. Stephen Morrish, I've seen you around in the Ubuntu community for years, particularly in Google+. Remember that? So welcome. I'm glad you were able to join us here this evening. Yannick, of course. Hello, Yannick, my favourite French guy in Switzerland. Which is it? Swiss in French or French in Switzerland? Whichever. Yannick. I've been on Yannick's podcast. If you want some Star Trek nerdery, look up T. Earl Grey Hot Podcast. It's wonderful, and I made a brief appearance in that podcast. So who else have we got? Dalton Durst, who is instrumental in the UBports community. Welcome. And Bill from the Ubuntu Mate community. Someone who is very important to what I work on these days in my as a passion project. Welcome, Bill. He leads our QA effort in Ubuntu Mate. Hello, Paul. Welcome back. It's lovely to see you here again. It's very pleasing to see, you know, those people that keep on coming back for this. Why are you coming back? It's not for the camera quality. My primary camera failed this evening, so I'm working off a secondary camera. I have words to say about Logitech webcams. Bad words, generally speaking. Working our way down the list. The Ferren OS. The Ferren OS developer. This is another Linux operating system. It's Ferren OS, and the developer of that community, or rather that project, dips in and out of all of the Linuxy related live streams. So it's lovely to see you back here again. Thank you for coming. And I think whipping through oh man, some of you, please choose easier names to pronounce. All of you, those of you with hard to pronounce names, go away, think about what you've done, come back with easier names. So Corinza Gamer, thank you very much for coming back again. We've seen you here several times. Welcome back. Cubicle Nate, hello. Somebody from the OpenSUSE community. Welcome. Welcome one, welcome all. This isn't just about Ubuntu, it's just about hacking on stuff for fun, particularly this evening. Any of you that know about macOS, please stand by, stick around. Gonna need your help. Literally don't know what I'm about to embark upon. Oh, Big Daddy Linux, hello. So that's Rocco. Thank you for joining. I appreciate that. I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow afternoon. You know what I mean. Sneaky Linux, welcome back. Hello. I had no idea we were so like almost adjacent. We're very close to one another geographically, but welcome back. Daniel Llewellyn, another Ubuntu and Snapcraft community contributor. Dan, thank you. I messaged Dan privately. I think Dan's going to dig me out of a big fat hole I'm about to create for myself. So Dan, look, I know you're only on the other side of town, but look, please stay. I really am going to need your help with this one. There's only one thing I know about this topic. I'm going to need your help with the rest of it. So what else have we got? Hello Lone, and hello John Euler, who's another QA member from the Ubuntu Mate community. Thank you very much for coming back. And I think Mike, hello Mike Glover, you're new here. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to this little group of individuals that turn up. I don't know why we're here, if I'm honest. Maybe it's just like, you know, the madness of coronavirus and a little bit of escapism. But hello and welcome. Glad to have you here. Brocan, welcome back. I've seen you here before. Right, okay. I really struggle to like read that bit and talk to that bit, so I do apologise if I miss you joining the stream. Hopefully I've touched on everyone and said hello in all the appropriate places. So let's get on with this. And I've got an even more complicated setup than ever before. So let's start here. Some of you will be familiar with the fact that I know that guy. So Alan Pope is a friend of mine. He's not just a friend of mine, he's also a colleague, and he made a snap recently called Susumi. So you can in fact, let's not be coy about it, you can go and get this snap in the Snap Store. Just here, in fact, it's a marvelous example of a snap. Look at the version number. What could go wrong? And look, there's screenshots. and there's a write-up and everything. Anyway, as you can see, the macOS in a VM in a snap. How fabulous. Prior to this snap existing, I didn't realize that it was possible to run macOS in a virtual machine, let alone in a virtual machine running on Linux. And I've been doing a bunch of work on a QEMU snap called QEMU Virtual, and then a project of my own. And I can't get away from the fact that I really want to be able to replicate this. So I want to have a go at that this evening. But all I know is it's possible. I got a Mac, I don't know, like 6 or 7 months ago, an old 2014, 2015 Mac, because I wanted to test some stuff. So I have a Mac, and it runs macOS, but I'm very much a novice. So we're entering uncharted territory here. So that's why, hello, all of you. Maybe you can help me. So let's just look through what's going on in the chat. So somebody says watching, in fact it's Mike Glover, says watching your awesome coding skills. Look, let's just get this straight, okay? I represent mediocrity, right? So whatever you see me do, you're absolutely all capable of doing for yourselves. The only area where I excel, and maybe one day I'll do a live stream about this, is implementing a bullet hell shoot 'em up in Bash. Now, in that regard, I am freely going to admit I totally rule that space. What we're about to do this evening, I don't know. I have no idea. Please help. But thank you all for coming. So, yeah, you're all typing much too quickly. Oh, Monica, welcome back. Thank you. Monica is also a member of the Ubuntu Mate community and has been working very hard on a new project that I'm going to not saying anything about that project. It will be announced soon enough. And Gumsticks, hello, welcome to the channel. And hopefully I haven't missed anyone. So here's the plan. We implement macOS in Quickemu. So in order to do that, I suppose we need to write some code. So let's bring this up. So here is the code to Quickemu, and I have done a teeny tiny bit of tinkering since the last time I did a live stream about this. So git diff, let's just start with that. What did I do? In fact, actually, that's a rubbish way of doing this. Let's have I got this bothering thing running? I haven't, because like I said, really literally no planning. Oh gosh. Okay, right. Oh dear, it's all gone horribly wrong. Right, you can see me that dragging around on a screen and I can't. And do you want to know why that is? It's because I'm running a pre-release operating system and I don't know how to drive it. Right, okay, let's there we go. Right, let's move you to one side. Oh goodness. Honestly, you people think you're turning up to watch a masterclass, and it's really just not that at all, is it? Has it ever been that? It's basically been in fact it's worse than that. Look, I have to drag that over here. There. And I also forget every single time that this particular application, as much as I love it, doesn't actually resize at all based on tiling and quadrant tiling. So, right. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. It was just between you and me. Nobody else is watching. Nobody else is going to watch this ever. It's just us. It's fine. Right. So what have we got here? This is my Quickemu repository. So if I just click up here and highlight. Oh goodness, the wrong screen. Highlight. What did I do? I cited a merge proposal. And I can't remember why, but there's something in that merge proposal that I want to accommodate. And I removed... Oh, yes, I remember. I remember why. We're testing something in Ubuntu, and this unlocks a capability. So none of you saw that. None of you saw this here. None of you take screen grabs of this screen right now. There is nothing secret or interesting on your screen right now. This isn't a new feature that we might announce in the future, in the very near future about Ubuntu right now. You can get that I'm just, winding you all on. This is clearly a hint to a new capability in Ubuntu, and it's fine. Ubuntu, it's all open source. If I wasn't doing this, you could go and find references to this in source code in the Ubuntu project. So this is a reference to a new thing that we're doing to improve hardware support, which is fine, but that's not why we're here this evening. Also, absolutely pay no attention to the all uppercase string Ubuntu QEMU test. Nobody saw that. I didn't mention it. It wasn't me. None of you saw it. None of you know what that means. It's fine. All friends here. No new information divulged whatsoever. So, I have some unstaged changes in my Git repository. This isn't what we're looking at. So, what we are looking at is how we integrate some changes from what Alan worked on. Oh gosh, I tell you, I need a better solution. I did tweet Venstone from the Linux Gamecast and asked him some questions. Thankfully, he gave me some excellent advice. Won't be putting up with this nonsense for too much longer, providing that people can deliver stuff. So, Alan made this project, Sasumi, and the snap of that is in his GitHub repository just here. 1, 2, 3. And the things that I'm interested in are not the YAML file, because I know how to do that stuff just as well as Alan. But he had a script here called launch. This is how you invoke a virtual machine such that it's pre-configured to stand up a macOS operating system. Please disregard this line highlighted in orange. We're going to pretend that doesn't exist a bit later. It's essential, but we're going to pretend it doesn't exist. So this is how QEMU needs to be instructed, and as far as I can see, there's a hard disk. I understand what that's all about. There are EFI variables that need to be stored. I understand what that's all about. There is an EFI firmware that needs to be stood up, and I understand that. And these lines I contributed. That line I understand. This is new. I think I know what it's all about. That I know why it's there. I'm not sure why we have to be so prescribed, but it's a way of telling the virtual machine to emulate a very particular class of CPU. So these are our clues. These are the things that I need to integrate into Quickemu in order that macOS can be booted. So before we get on to that, let's go to the chat and see what's going on. Gosh. You all type so many words. I need a moderator. Who wants to volunteer to moderate this stuff so I can keep touch with all this? Hello, Merigin. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I recognise you from the Snackcraft community. Thank you for joining, and thank you for all you've done in the Snackcraft community. I really appreciate it. Oh, hey, DT, DistroTube, Derek from DistroTube. Thank you very much for joining the stream. Lovely to see you here for the first time. He says so many Linuxy people live streaming, or so many Linuxy people live streaming even. I see what you did there. No doubt due to quarantine. So yes, although I would like to point out I did start doing this before, you know, the live streaming, stay indoors propaganda started in the UK. But, you know, as this is the new normal, embrace it. Why not? The whole point of these streams that I've been doing is that for the last 5 years, I've been sat at this very desk in the evenings, banging away on code, doing stuff on my own. And the only person that gets to see that is me. And so the idea is that if I share what I'm doing with all of you, maybe it will inspire some of you to level up your contributions to your distribution or project of choice, because as you will see, it really isn't that hard. Certainly if I'm doing it, all of you could be doing something more, providing you've got the time. And that's the key ingredient, is providing you've got time. I'm not saying that, you know, everyone can do this. You need to be able to engineer your life around making time to do it. Just hello Joe and Gimpy Sticks. So many new people. It's lovely to see you all here. Thank you all for joining. Right, okay. I think we better get on with it, because we're I don't know how many minutes in, and I've actually done nothing useful. I've just been chatting to you all. So I just need 10 seconds to consider what I need to do here. Okay. This is Visual Studio Code, and this is the Quickemu project in Visual Studio Code. This is the reference to the project, the pull request that you don't care about. Nobody's going to look at that. Nobody's going to make a YouTube video about it and figure out what it means. Right? So this is it. How many lines are we at? As near as, damn it, 500 lines of code. Could be a bit less if I could be bothered to fold these two segments together, but I bloody can't, because this is a project for fun. So looking at this, and more importantly, taking sight of Popey's reference, man, I've set up a new system this evening, and I really wish I hadn't done that, because you can see now what I've highlighted and I can't. So that is something I need to account for. A very specific CPU bring up, and also a very specific device bring up. So let's just focus on the CPU component for the moment. And I am going to run out of rope here. And Diddle Dan, I really, really hope you're still here, because I know you're an accomplished Mac user and also a very capable Linux developer. And guess what? I need help with this one. So we need to look at this bit of code here. Gosh, why is this misbehaving so much? Wrong tool. There we go. Let's try that. So up here in the top, I've got near the top, I've got something that says what the CPU is. There's the default CPU string, and I know I need to account for that. So I've got another evaluation. A part of the config for these virtual machines is what the guest OS is. So we know that we're going to have a new guest OS, and let's assume it's going to be called macOS because we get to choose the name, and that's fine. So we can say that up here we set a default CPU string of this. Wah! We get to set a default CPU string of that. So we don't need to override the local default, but we do need to set what that string is going to be. And we are reliably advised by the internet. Oh my goodness. That this is the string we need to use. As far as I can tell, that's a whole load of coercions to tell qemu what the instruction sets are that are going to be exposed by that virtual machine. So that's the first thing we're going to need to do in order for macOS to boot in qemu. Goodness, you're all very chatty again. I feel I'm going to need to do one of these where I just like don't do that stuff and just like have a conversation with you all, because you've all got so many questions and like conversational pieces to have, and I can't keep up. So turn off the flapping. What's the flapping? If somebody can fill in the gaps there, that would be helpful. DistroTube agrees with that statement. I don't know what the flapping is. Right, Derek, also, I am enjoying a beverage. This particular beverage is known as Jameson. It's a whiskey made out of the Liffey River in Dublin, and best whiskey in the world. Tiny sips. Let's not get carried away. Bill accentuates the I know nothing. Yeah, on this topic, I know nothing about macOS. I know what I can read on GitHub. That is the extent of my knowledge on macOS. I know how you boot PC systems, and I understand EFI and legacy BIOS. And maybe I can intuit the gap in between, which is how you get macOS to work. But if I can't, I'm really, really hoping that some of you know more about this than I do. Stephen Morris just points out he's only just got the name Sasomi. It is subtle, right? I mean, it's not super obvious. So yeah, there's also another snap in the store called Clouds, and there is a clever name behind that as well. Dildan, I get the name. I understand the Easter egg. Everyone else, go off and look at snapcraft.io/clouds. See if you can figure out where the clever name comes from. Gosh. Oh my goodness, so many comments. I really can't keep up. I need somebody to help. Hello Liam, welcome to the chat. Liam Wilson. I think this is the first time I've seen you here. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to this madness. Maybe we can figure something out. I've just realized I've got my editor on the damn wrong screen. This is what I was doing. So I've just added a single string to the configuration to stand up the CPU. And looking in here, we also need to do this. Now, do you see what we've got there? This is a... I understand what that is. I don't understand the ISA Apple bit. Clearly that's like an internal coercion of the behavior of QEMU. So for the time being, I'm just gonna put that in as a look what's happening. Damn it. Everyone that's been here for every single stream so far knows what's happening right now, right? Okay. All together, Martin is a Wally, and we're gonna sort this out. So, oh, do you see that command that we've got in the shell there? This is it. If you're going to live stream using an NVIDIA GPU, you absolutely have to do this. And I think so far this is the 6th or 7th time I've failed to remember I need to do that before I stream. So I apologize profusely. Hopefully the flickering is taken care of now. Oops. Oh, did you see what happened there? Right. Okay. So, macOS. I think that we may need to tack on to a variable. So this is all bash, right? It's not super sophisticated, but guest tweaks. This is a local variable I've set in this function, and I think this is something we need to use. So do we use it here? Yeah, we do. We use it for the Windows optimization. So a couple of streams ago, we used this for the Windows stuff. So we'll use guest tweaks just here. Let's even have the appropriate assignment. Now, there was an OSK there, which is taken from this string here. Now, this string, those curious of mind, go and Google this string. It's somewhat controversial. So what we're going to do is two things. We're going to define, first of all, that as a read-only string. If I could only type. There we go. And then we're going to go on a little exploration. We're going to inquire what package provides ROT13. So, BSD games. Okay, first person to type in chat what ROT13 does wins nothing other than internet points. So we are going to in fact, that can probably be read-only as well. Oh, you know, yeah. So I see Sneaky Linux is asking what numpty, that's an English colloquialism, or rather a English British colloquialism for what idiot gave a thumbs down. Look, I'm doing something with an Ubuntu shirt on. Like, the logo is on my shirt. Inevitably, I'm going to get thumbs down. That is what it is to be a developer working on Ubuntu. People irrationally hate what we do because, you know, why would anyone love free software? I don't know where this comes from. It's been around for 6 or 7 years, maybe longer now. Welcome to being in the Ubuntu community, everyone. Right, so let's do this. Have I got ROT 13 installed? Apparently I have. ROT 13. Do you know how this works? Everyone familiar with ROT 13? That's clearly not how it works. I've never used it. I know what it's supposed to do. I've never used it. Oh my gosh. Anyone who's prepared to spare my blushes in chat and tell me how I use this tool, please. Oh, it's also called Caesar. Well, I knew it was the Caesar cipher, but I didn't know it was also exposed as Caesar on the operating system. As far as I'm concerned, oh, rotation. Okay, so let's try this then. Let's try ROT 13. Was it ROT 13 or was it? Yeah, ROT 13. Rotation 13. No. How do I use this damn thing? I thought this was going to be easy, and it turns out I don't know what I'm doing. What does it say? Just rotation. What? The string or the frequency? The frequency is... Okay, I understand what it is, but how do I use it? This man page is rubbish. My goodness, look at you all typing away. I definitely need somebody to come in here and help keep tabs on everything that's going on. There's way more conversation, maybe way more useful conversationing happening in the chat than I'm doing right now. So this is the Caesar cipher, and I thought this was going to be as easy as just pinging a string into it, but maybe it's... Ah, there we go. Now we're in business. Right. So that's how I need to use it. So what we'll do is this. We will do read only, that. What we'll do, in fact, is this. This string right now, the one that I'm highlighting, is the controversial string. So let's just encrypt that with technology from some millennia ago. There is the encode of that. An unbreakable cipher. An unbreakable cipher, and we will now make this OSK. And we'll pipe that encrypted. You know how Apple cares about encryption? We're doing encryption right now, everyone. We're protecting freedoms, I think. I think that's what we're doing. And we'll pipe that through ROT13. So if I save that and if I just assign this locally, there we go. Did I? There we go. And then we'll read that in here. Doink. And then we'll echo OSK. Awesome. We are sorted. Right. There. Did you see what I did there? The string in question is, you will find, if you Google that string, you will find in legal documents. Technically, we shouldn't be sharing that string in plain text. So, I've done the simplest thing possible. I've used ROT13, the most secure cipher on the planet, I will have you know, in order to encrypt it. And then I've un-ROT13'd that string in order to decipher it so that I can use it in my program. Now, as was popular in the late 1990s and early 2000s, I could have used triple ROT13. And if you have a basic understanding of mathematics, you will understand it's the same string that we have right now. So that's what I've done. I have protected myself from the wrath of the mega corporation, hopefully. So there we go. Look, I'm a little bit far more interested in what's being discussed in chat. I'm going to take a moment to just go back and properly read everything that's going on here right now. So, why don't you all step away from the keyboard, go and get either a fine whiskey or a cup of coffee or a beer or a Coca-Cola or a large glass of water, whatever it might be. Give me 2 minutes and I'll catch up on what all of you have been chatting about, because it looks way interesting. So I'm just going to do that thing. I thought Jameson was a garage DJ, says Sneaky Linux. Sneaky, I think you're more down with the kids than I am. I wouldn't know about that. Distro, Jameson ain't bad. It's one of... Yeah, well, so, Derek, you're right. So, little inside fact. I am an accredited whiskey taster. And I learned and go back and re-qualify as a whiskey taster at the Jameson Distillery in Dublin every 2 years. And prior to doing that, I really didn't enjoy whiskies, but Jameson whiskey, it's a more subtle variation on what most people understand as Scotch. So that's why I enjoy it. Particularly good in the summer. Lots of ice, ginger ale, Jameson whiskey, better than a gin and tonic in the sunshine, in my opinion. So Dan says, I'm glad it wasn't too difficult an egg. That's a reference to the clouds snap. So Dan, I've broken your code, right? Has anyone else broken Dan's code? Does anyone else understand why the snap of Windows 10 is called clouds? If you do, answers in the chat, please. Goodness, you're all so fabulous. I really can't believe that you're all here having a chat. It's lovely. As I've said before, if you're new here, I would normally be sat here on my own, banging away on a keyboard. This is much more fun. This is the actual people typing things and saying hello and asking their questions. This is a much better way to spend my evening than the miserable way I've been spending my evenings for the last 5.5 years. So I'm gonna be doing this way more. This is great. So right. So Dalton Durst is educating me. Apple SMC is a virtual Apple system management controller. So that would be in relation to the thing that I was... Oh, gosh. I have to do that virtual screen thing. Somewhere down here. Here we go. That line there. Dalton has answered that question eloquently. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Dalton. I am duly educated. I had no idea what that was. I had just grokked. That was a thing I needed to do. Yes, Big Daddy Linux is right. Like that smash button. Ding that bell. I've worked it out. The bell, technically, you shouldn't need to do anything with. It doesn't even need to exist. Shh, don't tell Google. But it does. And it's obnoxious, but click it delicately, find the bit that says all, and choose that. That's what they want you to do, but nobody knows that. You didn't hear it from me. Nobody knows. Right, and base 64. No, base 64 is a one-way. It's a one-way, Dan. That's no good. You need to use ROT 13 because it's bullshit and it goes both ways. Cubicle Nate. Cubicle Nate. You are quite possibly the ambassador for desktop Linux generally. You are so even-handed and appreciative of everything that all the distributions are doing. You set a great example to everyone. So thank you for coming here. Thank you for your positive energy. It really actually does make a difference to the people that are working on this stuff. Not hearing, you know, a bunch of negative stuff. It's nice to have a positive voice in the community. So thank you for being that. Gosh, I'm going to be here all night if I look through all of your lovely, lovely words in the chat room. I'm going to have to rethink how I do this because, like, we're at 37 live viewers now. If we get to 40, I'm not going to be able to cope with this. In fact, I'm barely coping now. But thank you all for the lovely words. Right. This is slow, the slowest development I've ever done, ever. You're not all terribly bored yet, I hope. Yes, Dalton, you're right. I think I knew that. I do know some things. I'm not completely new to all of this. Right, okay. So we have agreed that that code is required. OSK is required. Where is OSK? Decrypted. Did I do that up here? There. Right. So what we'll do is we'll just grab that down into this section here, because it's only relevant to booting macOS. So we're defining what our encrypted, as we've agreed, encrypted string is, and we're decrypting it using a cipher from the medieval times. Because those are the best encryption algorithms, by the way. And just for completeness, I'll use that there. So guest tweaks. Right. I I'm going to step away from this keyboard for like 45 seconds, because what you can't hear is what's happening in that ear, and I need to go and deal with a family thing, and it's going to take exactly 45 seconds. So I will be back in 45 seconds time, and I will see you momentarily. Was that 45 seconds? Felt like 45 seconds from my point of view. Right. Okay. I think I'm going to need to just press on and do some code. So we have got our CPU definition, and these are all the hoops you need to run through in order for a virtual machine to boot. Now that I contributed to this particular project, so I know that's fine. So we need to do something like this, which is basically to enable EFI booting in the virtual machine. Now I think what we need to do is here we go. I think this will apply if we are trying to boot the system as macOS. So if we're trying to boot the system as macOS, what it's going to do is go and grab the EFI firmware, or the implementation of an EFI firmware for QEMU, and also further down is going to take the variables. Imagine that you're in an EFI firmware and you configure it in a particular way. This is where those will be stored. Now, I have seen in most virtual machine things that boot a Mac, like this one here, they have a specific path to some EFI firmware. Based on the very little I know about that, I think the firmware that's embedded in QEMU is sufficient. So we're just going to go with that and see how it works out. This is the pass-through for GL. I actually don't think that's going to work on macOS, but the way that Virgil works is it stands up a VGA adapter and then it adds a GL pass-through. The GL pass-through is not going to work without a driver, but the VGA setup should. So we're just going to leave that alone. It should be fine. All of this stuff here, standing up a BIOS, I'm just going to ignore that right now. This is the equivalent of commenting out lines of code you don't understand. We're just going to pretend that doesn't exist and hope that it works out well for us. These lines I do understand, and it's done very differently in Quickemu, and I'm quite hopeful the Quickemu implementation will just work. Right. Now, this is a thing. And Diddle Dan, this is the thing I simply do not understand. And I know Diddle Dan does, because Diddle Dan has a Mac and he had a pull request, which we can see just here, which says update this very file I'm looking at right now. And Diddle Dan says enable system integrity protection for a more secure macOS system. This is the default macOS operating mode, which was previously overridden. So no idea what those words mean. More than happy to pull in Dan's file here. Educate me, Dan. So let's just take a look. Oh, we've lost a few viewers since the family intervention, by the way. It's fine. It's fine. Go and whisper the URL of this stream into your friends and lovers' earlobes. They'll come back. They'll come back. It's fine. So, Dan is telling me in chat that this here, gosh. If it was also easy, this esp.qcow2. qcow2 is a disk image format used by QEMU, copy on write file system. He says it's a QCOW image, so you can mount it and have a nosy peek. Yes, I could have a nosy peek, and I did consider doing that, but because here's the anti-advert. Don't buy a Logitech Brio cam. They are rubbish, and that's why I got delayed. So, in amongst me being delayed, I did intend to go and mount this, Dan, and go and have a look inside to see what's in there. I think what I should find inside this qcow2 file is the Clover EFI boot environment. Am I right or wrong about that? So he says it contains the UEFI bootloader called Clover. I think I might be right. My goodness, it does happen sometimes. And a config.plist file which configures how that behaves. Okay. I've heard about config.plist. Among other things, I think I can use that to set the default resolution of the guest operating system, of the guest macOS operating system. Am I on the right path here, Dan? Or am I barking up the wrong tree entirely? Also, Dan, not something I want to do this evening necessarily, but something I would be interested to do. Could I create an empty qcow and jam Clover inside it from Linux and automate that step so that I don't have to go and grab a prefabricated ESP file from off the internet in some random place? Do you see how this works now? This is me rocking backwards and forwards, basically admitting I have no idea what I'm doing right now. There is somebody much more informed in the chat that knows how to do this stuff, who can educate me. If you have a well-informed friend who can tell you how to do things, you could do this too. Right, let's see. plist. So Dalton Durst says the plist file is an XML file format that Apple loves, and the rest of the world gets sad about. Thanks, Dalton. That's insightful stuff. Dan goes on to say that I think you should be able to do the Clover programmatically in Linux, though usually they get you to install it with a Mac installer app thingy. Right. So Dan, if I go and grab your esp.qcow out of GitHub, I could use that as the ESP partition and I don't need to mess about with it, but I would love to learn how to mess about with it, because just grabbing a random binary off the internet is okay, but it's not mega interesting. I don't know what I did other than go and suck a random thing down and use it. Dan says, yep. Fine. So. Oh. Actually, how do I grab the whole damn thing? I don't want to do it this way, do I? I want to go here. Go back to pull requests. I want to go and click here. Probably go to Dan's repository. That's how we do it. Is it in here? Yeah, there it is. So. Somewhere here we need to account for let's just assume this is going to be fine. So the reason I create local variables is because they don't pollute the global scope. And I know that sounds like mumbo jumbo to some of you, but it's a way of separating variables in the top level of the script from within functions in the script. If I know there is a variable I only need to use within the scope of a function, then I declare it as local. Moreover, if there is a variable, not even a variable, if there is a parameter I know I need to use that I'm not going to update, I declare it as read-only, which you saw me do earlier on. So we're going to go and grab that, or at least we're going to declare it. So we have this, and I think I'm going to steal most of this. Oh, hello. I was clearly writing something there. Ah, yeah. that is not distinctive enough context. So I'm basically saying if the boot parameter was that, or the guest OS, I need that to be more separated from these first two evaluations. So this line here is saying if we're requesting the virtual machine to boot using EFI, then stand up the EFI firmware. But we need something else here. I think we're going to need to treat this as a super over this. This is where I go into somewhat silent thinking mode. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying that, look, if we've declared the virtual machine configuration to be macOS, then the boot the boot mode should be EFI, which then invokes these things. And then we need to get into this. So what I'm going to do now is say that if a particular file doesn't exist, which is this one, in the directory that's used by that virtual machine. So we'll just wrap that in quotes to make sure that obscure file paths are accounted for. So we're saying if this thing isn't existing, then we'll go and grab it. And what was the URL for that? It was ESP URL. And we'll stick that in this place. So the -C on wget will ensure that we only download it once. It goes and checks the checksums, and it won't grab it unless there's a difference. So that should go and get. So this instructs our system that if our guest is optimized for macOS, then we're in an EFI boot mode. And then actually that logic is broken. So let's do this. Only if we're in macOS mode do we do that. Gonna just catch up in chat. I realise I've been neglecting you all. Okay. You've all been discussing tea and coffee. I'm not quite sure what brought that on, but it's good that you're discussing tea and coffee. And still discussing tea and coffee and the benefits of decaffeinated. So Dan says the Clover bootloader is downloadable from this place. Okay. As a zip file containing just the EFI app. You then need to build the plist and folder hierarchy. Okay. Dan understands what that's all about, and I simply don't care. So I think what we're going to do for now is we're going to go with the fact that we can download an ESP file from Dan's GitHub repository that has been composed in the right way. I don't need to care about that detail just yet, but maybe on another day I do. So let's take that as the current situation. More chit chat. And hey Kai, how you doing? So Kai likes Linux, who's been here before. Kai, have you been working on the Ubuntu Cinnamon remix? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Oh, hang on. I see a wild Alan Pope. So Alan asks, why am I using Diddledan's fork of Sosumi? And that's because Diddledan suggested in a pull request to your upstream fork of Sosumi that he had an improvement. So I thought I would just go to the font of all knowledge and grab his ESP file directly, because I have no idea what this thing is and what it does, but apparently Dan, as a Mac owning Linux user, does. So that's where I'm coming from here. So also, Popey, you've got a merge proposal in your Git repository. Right. Oh gosh. Right. I think this CPU line should be fine. OSK. We've got in guest tweaks, which is also fine. So that's all down here. Where were we? We were doing lines of code there and here. So we were saying if the guest OS is macOS, then the boot system is EFI. That's good. And we're gonna get this ESP file, and I think at that point we need to modify the tweaks. From looking at no, that isn't what I want. So if we look at the launcher script, which is this, we need to add that. Hang on a minute. Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff we need to do here. So we need to change the hardware configuration of the system. Okay, let's just bang that in there. I think we need that, but not. So I think we need to change that with this. Okay, what's this? Oh, I see, that defines it as such. So we'll take that as well. Right, okay, going back. Everyone's saying hello to each other in chat, which is lovely. It's nice that all these people know one another. Right, so there you go, Diddle Dan. If nothing else happened this evening, Popey has merged your pull request. So that's good. Oh, sod it, you know what I need to do now. Damn it, you know what he's done. He's gone and compelled me to go and blow him find the original. Sorry everyone. I need to go and... Is it in here? There it is. Right. View raw. I don't want to download it. I just want to. Right, Popey. I know you're watching right now. You need to do this. In your repo, you've got the open Apple string. Change it to that. It's a ROT13 string. Super secure. It's encrypted. They will never know. At least if they go hunting through GitHub, they will never know. Change it to a ROT13 string. Right, so we've set the CPU up. Hang on, this feels wrong. This is telling me there's a problem. That'll be why. Right, okay. I'm going to create a macOS configuration for this VM. Oh. Goodness, I thought I... That's going to be a problem. Need to convert the thing. I don't know if it's an... Let's just call it IMG. Don't know what we need to do there. This we can simply just call. Now, somewhere where did I download macOS? I did download macOS earlier. Where the heck did I put it? I think I put it in. Okay, found it. There it is. Oh, hang on. There we go. Okay, that's copying, I hope. That will take a moment. Hello, chat. Right. So, Popey has merged Dildan's merge proposal. Pull request even. I need error. Popey says I need error checking around that wget. ESP needs to be at a read-write location. Yeah, I think you're right about that. We'll get there. So, Big Daddy says he's got to run. Bye. I've probably missed you, but thanks for stopping by, Rocco. Everyone's saying farewell and stuff. Kai Linux says Kai Linux is making jokes about rotting strings. Okay, Cubicle Nate also weighs in on that discussion. Right. Alan says, Popey says, fun fact, there is exactly one repo on GitHub using the rot13 of the Apple copyright text. After this evening, there will be precisely two using it. Isn't it such a simple thing, though? Don't you think that would trip them up, like, you know, hunting through GitHub for that sort of shit? I think you know, a rot13 is the simplest and perfect protection from Apple mining through strings in source code. Right, you're all having fun, as far as I can see in that conversation. So, macOS qemu. Right, going back to the ESP, Popey says it needs to go into a writable location. I thought I'd been putting it, I thought I'd grabbed it into a writable location, but now, oh, there we go. Yeah, VMDIR, I think that's fine. So, let's look at the configuration. We've got bung it in there for the IMG and the qcal. ISO isn't called that. It's called basesystem.img, which Popey, do I need to convert that? Popey Diddledan, do I need to convert that into something else? I think I do. Like I said, actually don't know what I'm doing right now. Is that effectively like the ISO path? Is that what we're doing with that? Oh. Right. Okay, you saw that. Cannot open macOS, macOS.img. That's because it's called that. Oh. Just try and boot off the right device. That'd be good, wouldn't it? No, that doesn't look good. Martin goes to read chat for a moment, see if anyone has words of wisdom. Yeah, no, I think Popey. So Popey's saying he doesn't think that the unobfuscated string is a problem. Legally, I don't think so. It's been through the court several times. I was just having some fun with it by, you know, encrypting it. So Popey's off to bed. Night night. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit woozy, and I wish I'd made more progress, but I was really concentrating on not making much progress, if I'm honest, this evening. Dalton says he successfully fixed almost all the seg faults in switching an Ubuntu touch device to a second screen. Well done, Dalton. It's marvellous to have like a free and open source operating system available on these new generation of Linux touch devices. So Dan says that's the raw image. It's already converted from the DMG and a disk image format. Martin looks at his screen, tries to make sense of what he's being told. Doesn't make sense of what he's being told. Yeah, Monica, I saw Popey canned it for the evening. That's fine. That's no problem. So, Dan, what is my massive oversight here? Right, I'm trying to... Oh, bloody hell. This is the problem. So, I had a Twitter conversation to try and get away from this. This has been on my screen for some time and none of you can see it, and you're probably wondering, why was I, you know, in a moment of hesitation and thought? Because I was presented with this. So, if Diddle Dan's still around, I've tried to boot off the base system, and I don't think that was the right thing to do. So if we go and look back here at the no, firmware we don't need. Fetch macOS. So I did this manually. It goes and downloads a thing. I thought there was a step in here where it converted it. What am I missing, Dan? Oh, Dan's not there. Dan. Dan. So I used that to download it, and I thought I could just use the downloaded thing directly, but apparently not. No, we've seen that. That's the same as ubuntu. This is going to be the same. Oh, see, getting tired now, and that's gonna oh, here we go. This is a bit different. Oh, here we go. Ah, right, here we go. So I need to turn the DMG into an IMG. That's what we need. That's the magic bit of code. So going back over here. I need to write a whole downloader convertery thing, and I'm running out of enthusiasm to do that right now. So oh, why did that get ruined? So we'll change this to just assume that the image has been downloaded. So we want to say if, not that. So you need to remember that I'm cribbing off something that builds inside a snap, and for reasons I'm not doing that. Where was this being downloaded from? Huh. No, the ISO direct, not an ISO, IMG. See chat whizzing by. Let's catch up. Oh, goodness. Yeah, so Cubicle Nate says this is his escapism from the news. Kind of mine as well. I mean, not the sole reason why I've been doing this, but it's certainly a contributing factor. Glad you like the music, Monica. Kai asks, how has the week been for everyone? Should we pivot to that? It's been a weird week. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Anyone not had a weird week? I mean, I know that some of the people in here, we're all from different parts of the world. We're all subject to different government legislation. But it's been a strange time, for sure. We've been stuck inside for a week now. New challenges are educating children, which I've learned I suck at. That's a new thing. Who else is having to become a teacher all of a sudden? Yeah, it's a weird and stressful week. I'm not going to be dishonest about this. I haven't found this week stressful. I have found it definitely weird and unusual, and it takes some, accommodating to. I suspect stressful is on the horizon for sure. So Monica says it's been an emotional roller coaster. Corinzan Gamer says, I'm a teacher. Ah, right, this is very interesting. And work in a distance education school. Wow, okay. All of a sudden, everyone is forced to do what, your school already does. Yeah, I bet. We've had some local schools close. Or not just close, that's the wrong term. All our schools are closed, subject to, policy. But we've had some private schools shut down, cease to trade. I think Corinzan Gamer, you're probably at the leading edge there. I think that, at Canonical, we're fortunate in that, we are a remote distributed organization, and as challenging as it is right now, we are accustomed to working in this way. And about 85% of the company has been working remotely, and the last 15% are now put in a position where they need to do the same as well. So it's, it's not plain sailing. We're fortunate, but there's a lot of people that are having to learn and scramble to adapt to this new world order. My daughter, for example, has been doing her piano lessons via Skype for the last couple of weeks, which is, new for us. So Cubicle 8 says, not stressful, just weird. Yeah. I think the stressful for a lot of people. Some families for sure are feeling the stress now. I think for many people the stress is a couple of weeks away, but we're all going to feel it eventually for sure. But they're saying Cubicle 8 is saying not stressed just yet. but feeling cut off from some of his family, and it's not fun. At least we're able to talk on the phone. So how many of you have been, you know, like chatting with family on you know, Skype or Google Hangouts or whatever? We've started doing that. It's weird, right? I've been doing this with my colleagues on a daily basis, using Google Meet and previously Google Hangouts as a means to communicate with the teams that I work with. You know, the strange thing is that I've been travelling away from home for several years now, and when I phone home, I actually phone them. I don't have a video call, I speak to them on the phone. And now, our broader family, we're now setting up a mechanism by which we can have video calls with one another for the first time. And why didn't we do it before? But this has catalysed, you know, that decision. So yeah, Corinzan Gamer says that Queensland government has closed all schools. So Queensland, that's Australia, I believe. And Kai Likes Linux says my state is locking down 100% right now. Yep, I don't know which state that is, Kai, but yeah, I think that, you know, in some respects, I think imagine this. 3 weeks ago, I was in Frankfurt, a company sprint. And there we all were. We'd all travelled there from all over the world, and a few of our colleagues were from the United Arab Emirates, and they were already closing the schools then. And some of our colleagues went home that week before they'd even arrived, almost. I didn't mean this to turn into COVID-19 chat, but you know, it's kind of the now. Kai says he's from Colorado. And Joe Panico, is that how I pronounce that? Has said we've been using FaceTime and WhatsApp and Whereby. I've not heard about that. WHERBY. Not heard about that one before. Whereby. Used it for a long time. So I've been getting the family on board with Skype, actually, because we've got a lot of under the age of 16 in our family, and Skype actually has provision for managing their accounts through family accounts, so that's what we've been moving to. So Monica says she's going to join a virtual knitting group next week with her godmother, a few states away, working out virtual dinners and teas. Okay, you're going to have to explain what a virtual dinner or tea is. I think tea may mean something different in English as opposed to American, but please explain. That sounds like virtual dinner, you know, with a couple of webcams and people chatting to one another after they've made the same or similar meal, which I quite like the sound of, I have to say. Dalton says, Whereby it's really good video chat. It's the UB Ports meeting space. So so Dalton, what is the platform you're using for really good video chat? We've tried a few things. Skype has been, bearing in mind we've got children to consider and how to moderate their access to these things. So far we've found Skype to be the best, but I'd love to hear what other people are using. What's Whereby? I'm going to have to look that up. That sounds very interesting. Huh. Whereby, I have to say, Whereby looks like it's very much Mac centric. Am I Am I missing something on that point, or is it very much in the Mac ecosystem? It has that look, that aesthetic. So, Monica says it's where you eat dinner or yup. What does that mean? I don't understand that phrase. I think I might be old man here. What does yup mean? Is that a delivery service or something else? Whereby.com. So Joe has clarified. I've looked it up. Yeah. So I tell you what, I can actually paste a URL. In fact, if anyone else wants to paste URLs, I will approve them because I know who to trust here. So that's the whereby thing. Does Joe have anything else to say about that? So Monica says, sorry, that got bungled, but yes, you just get your food or hot beverage and a webcam and get together that way. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, right? So yes, I approve. I think that's great. I have the privilege of managing several teams at Canonical, and I have a meeting in the calendar, which was this afternoon, and it's simply called Enforced Management Fun Time, which I realise is a little bit flippant, but you know, the point is, and it wasn't created because of current circumstances, it was created because you know, if we're all distributed, we need some time to just have a conversation, and we have great chats when we get together at sprints. So Enforced Management Fun Time is an opportunity to just have a social chat. And today we were regaled with my good friend Alan Pope showing us his 24-hour survival packs that he'd ordered from the British Army. So he's ordered a number of these protein packs. They're more than protein packs. A whole 24-hour survival kit. And he did a live unboxing for, you know, the dozen or so of us that were on that call this afternoon. So yeah, sometimes having video conferences doesn't need to be serious or work related. It's just about, you know, a little bit of connection and social time, and that's just as important as like getting stuff done. So Dalton says, "Oh, hello, Jill. Yeah, thanks for joining. The whole thing's kind of got derailed now. I had some code up there, in fact. No, there. Which way? There. It's there. I suck at this. It's that way. Frankly, I've given up on that. We're entering into a far more interesting conversation about, you know, how people are organising their lives right now. So, hello, Jill, and welcome. Please share how you're, you know, isolating yourself and your family and what you're doing to stay sane. That's kind of the conversation we're having right now. Yeah, so Dalton says I should be using ultra low latency on YouTube. Is there any, you know, penalty for using that? I haven't ticked that one yet. I have ticked low latency, but if I go with ultra low latency, is there anything I need to be mindful of? Obviously, I was due to be having super high speed fiber installed today, in fact, but given the current circumstances, that's not gonna happen. So I'm still on steam powered internet. But you know, yeah. Dalton, educate me, please. So Joe says that whereby is limited to 4 users at a time, but there's no time limitations. these are all I tell you what, I think this is a new skill we're all going to be learning, right? Is like becoming expert in video conferencing solutions and how to do remote presentations and remote conferences. I think that's going to be the new world order that falls out of the current state of affairs. You know, not just kind of like doing that stuff, but I think that's going to be the way we do things. I think a lot of companies are going to wake up and wonder why they've been spending millions of dollars on sets and studios and show floors for the last 3 decades. Yes, Diddle Dan Popey is ready for the zombie apocalypse. He has ordered all the survival gear, although when probed, turns out he's just bought food. Quelle surprise. So he has all the food items. He has 6,000 calories per day per family member, but he has no means of defending themselves or any of that stuff. But it was jolly good fun nevertheless. It was you know, a heartwarming conversation. We had people joining from all over the company to have a little bit of fun time, and Popey totally delivered with his survival packs. It was jolly good fun. So Kai says they may have to shut down Ubuntu Lumina either temporarily or permanently. Why? Why does the current situation affect that? I'd be interested to know what's going on that may inhibit you progressing with your fine project. Kai, who's in the chat, is working on a Lumina remix for Ubuntu, which I would dearly like to see. Yeah, so Joe, this YouTube defaulting to 480p, who's actually experienced that yet? Right, so actually, tell me. What's the default quality you're seeing for this stream right now? I'm not going to tell you what I'm telling it to do. Tell me what you're receiving. I'd love to know. I'm interested to know how that's working. But I have heard that they're reducing the quality, but the reduced quality that I'm seeing over here in Europe is not what's being advertised elsewhere. I'm seeing much higher resolution. Yeah, so Jill is talking about, you know, going out shopping and social distancing and everything. I'm really keen. I really want to go out for a drive and have a look around the local area, but my wife is telling me I can't do that. And I really want to, so we've got to wait until Tuesday next week, I think, until we can do that at the very minimum. But some friends of ours, the UK government has been very strict about what our movement should be. And some friends of ours today drove out into the countryside to walk their dog. And when they came back to their car, they had found that the police had put a notice on their car inquiring as to how they'd got here, because they shouldn't be travelling unnecessarily. So it's super serial over here in terms of constrained movement. So Dan says, here we go. So I asked what's the resolution that people are seeing. So Dan says he's seeing 720p 60. Korenzin Gamer also says 720p. So Dan and Korenzin, can you tell me which continent you're in? We'll get to this as to why it's relevant in a moment. Dan Simmons says 480p. Joe Panico says, when I first joined it was 480. It then dropped to 360, and then you got bumped to 720. So Joe, what continent are you in, please? Pierre says 720. Kai likes Linux, says 360. Oh my goodness. Dan 720. So Kai is in Colorado. Corinzan Gamer is in Australia. Joe's in Central USP. Cubal Donate says 480p. I know you're in the US somewhere. So this is interesting. So as far as I can tell, if you're in America, you get 480p by default. Knowing what I know about the few of you that are in this chat and what I've read, if you're in America, you get 480p. If you're in the rest of the world, it appears to be defaulting to 720p, which is certainly my experience. I watched a couple of streams earlier, and it was all 720p stream. You know, that was the default that it went to. Tell you what, let's just get rid of all of this. It's interesting, isn't it? Has anyone heard about Netflix backing off their, initial resolution? Because I think I've heard something like 40% of internet traffic after 8 p.m. at night, in whatever your time zone is Netflix. Maybe it doesn't matter at that time of day. So Jill says 720p. Now I know Jill is definitely America land. You're West Coast America land. I don't want to say LA, but you San Francisco. You're in that West Coast region, right, Jill? So Corinza says he's heard about the Netflix thing, but they don't have it, so they can't confirm. Monica says 720p here in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where you want to be. Everyone in America, that's where you want to be. Getting the good stuff down in Atlanta, Georgia. Jill says she's in LA. So Jill, a long time ago, I used to live in LA for a brief period. One day we'll get to meet, and I'll tell you my story about living in LA. It's a long story. I'm not going to share in public. It's a story worth hearing, though, but not for public consumption. It's a little bit embarrassing for me. But yeah, lived in LA for a while back in the mid 1990s. We've kind of totally gone off topic. This is just turned into a lovely chat, as far as I'm concerned. And I suppose that's what I needed more than anything this evening. It's a bit self-indulgent. I do apologise. 1990 is the best decade. So Daniel Llewellyn is positioning the 1990s as the best decade. It was a great decade for sure. You may be able to tell from, grumpy face and everything. The 1970s was the best decade. We had decade arguments just the other evening. Come on, let's break it out. Let's everyone air their views. What was your best decade in the opinion of? And also, I know what the demographic of this audience is. And Jill, please invite your friends to this live stream. It's bloody dismal. At one point, I had 0.7% female viewers. And now the aggregate percentage of female viewers here is 0%. I feel we're failing in some fundamental way. So we need representation from a wider breadth of community, because currently my demographic is mostly America and England between the ages of 34 and dead. Those are my demographics, and white men. That's my demographic. Now, admittedly, smallest YouTube channel ever, but it's a little bit depressing, isn't it? You kind of want a little bit more social equilibrium than that. It would be good if we could do better, but you know. Oh, and Monica, yeah, the two of you, yeah, Monica and Jill. I love that you've both joined. You've been completely crushed. There was a brief period where I could see your representation in the statistics. Sadly, not anymore. Kai only remembers the 2010s. Kai, you're making me feel old and sad. I know. Yes, Monica. I am blessed. I think maybe I might be trending higher than most Linux YouTubers with the two of the Monica and Jill on this live stream. I tell you what, please tell your friends. I tell you what, maybe I'll announce a stream well ahead of time, and we can have like a game the system moment where we like try and like, you know, get beyond, you know, the usual herd of white men in Western Europe and America on the stream. It's lovely that all of those white men from Europe and and America are here, but you know, we really should be thinking beyond those confines, I think. Yeah, so Dan's echoing the point. Yeah, I have two more than most streams, but it's a bit sad, isn't it? Do you remember when, you know, we had Laura on the Ubuntu podcast? I think she added some gravitas and balance to the conversations that we had, and we dearly miss Laura ever since. And we've struggled to find, because the problem is that Alan and Mark and I, despite the age difference between Mark and Alan and I, we're broadly interested in the same things. It's very difficult for us to be how do I put this? Very difficult for us to be representative of a broader audience appeal, because as much as we are mindful of where the podcast is lacking in representation, we are not able to artificially account for that. Also, if you are or are not familiar with the Ubuntu podcast, first episode of season 13 is out tomorrow. Shh, don't tell anyone. Shh. Yeah, and Monica points out, you know, it's not as simple as, you know, male and female. There's, you know, non-binary preferences and everything. It's. Is it just our industry? Is it just tech that is left behind, or is it particularly the Linuxy bit? I don't know. I mean, I work with quite a very diverse group of individuals at work. We have representation from hundreds of countries. It just so happens that not everyone is, you know, equally split in a gender basis, but you know, in terms of, you know, cultural diversity, Canonical is fantastically diverse. Yeah, Jill. Yeah, we miss Laura too. We're still in touch with Laura. She's still in our little production chat where we talk about things, but you know, she's outgrown us. She's Dr. Laura Cowan now, and all power to her elbow. Yeah, so Kai says that, you know, tech is less diverse than most industries, and yeah, I could agree with that. It's certainly what I see. Yeah, Jill, let's age well together like a fine wine. 1970s is the best decade for music and culture. It was a fantastic period. Yeah, we're old. Let's just go with it. Let's just. In fact, we're not old. We're wise. We're wise. We're wise where other people aren't. Monica says, I think you get more people in the crowd who are welcoming. It helps bring down the barriers to membership. Yeah, well, we really try. It's tough, especially when you know you're a predominantly male bias organisation. It's tough to present yourself as something else because that seems a bit dishonest. But we do try to be inclusive and inviting. But, you know, there's only one way to do that, and that's to be genuinely, you know, diverse, which is a challenge to achieve for sure. So, Corinson says, Dr. Laura was a call-in radio. Oh, right, okay. Kai, you say you're not too young. You even understand the noughties. Just making me feel old, like really decrepit old with that statement. So, Jill says so true, but at least we will have Steve Husband. So Steve Husband, that's your fella, right? To make me feel younger. Is he your toy boy or what? Maybe I shouldn't ask. I'll stop talking. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. So Monica. Oh goodness. Monica talks about when we started referring to Laura from the podcast as Dr. Laura. I've got hiccups now. Maybe this is the sign it's time to stop talking. Oh, goodness. Yeah. So Laura spent many years studying for and achieving her qualifications. So it was only right and proper that we address her, you know, in the right way, and she is Dr. Laura Cowan. So Jill says yes, Steve is her hubby and her toy boy. Well done, Jill, well done. No, it's not the bloody whiskey, right? I mean, this is flat. There's no bubbles or mixers in that. I don't know where the sodding hiccups. I tell you what, maybe it's the lack of whiskey. Let's see. Let's put that to the test. Well, I don't know if it's cured it, but it certainly feels much better. Look. I can't even remember where I was with the code, and frankly I don't care anymore. This has been a lovely conversation. Very quickly, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes because I'm happy to stick around. But do we keep this going as a little bit of interesting chat, or should I knock it on the head and circle back to the actual point of this when we started out this evening? I mean, I'm loving the chat. It's way more interesting. For me, it's been one of those days. I need a little bit of social contact, and you're providing it. It's been lovely. I'll give you a few minutes to think about whether we just, you know, can it for the night, evening, afternoon, wherever you are, morning even. Corazine Gamer says the chat is awesome. Cubicle 8 says whichever is fine. Okay. Jill Bryant. Husbands and boy toys. Oh my goodness, boy toys. It's a little bit risque, that term there. Kai says this is so nice. Just chatting. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, I think so too. I'm enjoying it. Dan says me hugs Wimpy's remotely. So Dan Llewellyn, who's in the chat here, some of you may well have, you know, passed by Dan's name, you know, in the Ubuntu community, in the Statcraft community. Dan, I could probably shout out the window and you could hear me. You know, Dan is just on the other side of town from where I live. It's weird. It's weird that we're so close yet so far apart, Dan. Oh, Dan. We when all this bullshit is over, we should get together for an afternoon in town with Popey, who's also only, you know, the other way, you know, a little bit further from you. It's really weird. England is small. For those of you that don't know, Dan is like, you know, a casual stroll that way, and Popey is like a half-day hike that way from me. That's how small England is. We're basically all next-door neighbours. You know, I regularly go round to the Queen's for tea and scones. It's how it goes. Jill says, "Oh, we love you." Oh, well, that's very kind. It's very kind, Jill. Jill, we love you too. You bring joy and balance to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays and everything that goes on over there at Linux Gamecast. Dan Simmons says it's all good. I'm listening. It's lovely that you're all okay with just a little bit of chit chat. Maybe I need to do a separate thing from time to time, which is just a chat with you all. I'm not sure how I reference the group of lovely people that have coalesced here. You might be subscribers. That feels a little bit dehumanizing. If you've got an idea for how we can refer to our collective selves in this place, this new place, I feel like this is going to be, you know, something that everyone has to bridge eventually. Give us an idea for, you know, how we turn to it, how we refer to ourselves collectively. Yeah, it's random chat right now. I was coding. I've just given up. I mean, that's just not going to happen now. I'll pick that up maybe at the weekend. In fact, I did think I should probably go and do some Ubuntu Mate stuff. But here's the rub. The Ubuntu Mate community are epic, and they've like mopped up a whole bunch of stuff I'd ordinarily need to do. So the Ubuntu Mate stuff is now a bit boring, so I thought, let's have a go at something weird. Turns out I wasn't actually all that super engaged in the process, and I didn't know what I was doing. So we've shoved that off for the evening. Oh, so Dan says we're the Wimpettes. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I find it weird attributing like a version of my name to things. Wimpy I'm okay with, right? Because that was my nickname at school in the 1970s, Jill. In the 1970s when I was at school, that's what they called me. I was Wimpy. Because that's the way it works. In England, you're either a contraction of your surname with a Y or a contraction of your surname with an ER. That's why we have a Popey and a Wimpy. My friend Julian Hunt, he's Hunter. My friend Simon Difford, he's Diffie. You know, it's a very simple protocol for working out, you know, what people's nicknames are. But you know, that's how we end up where we are. So, Kai is saying that that this track distracts me from what might become the harshest decision I ever make. Kai, what could that possibly be? We're here to help. And Monica says, half day's hike to Popey, like in Jane. So, Monica, you referenced Jane Austen with more ThinkPads. So, where I live, it's known as Jane Austen country. This is the region. This is where Jane Austen grew up and lived and wrote all of her fantastic stories. But yeah, I say a half day's hike. Dan, hopefully you're still here. I think you'll recognise us to Popey as a half day's hike for unfit fat fellas, for people that are you know, more accustomed to walking around and carrying things on their back. It's probably a couple of hours, but not for me. But not far. You know, when we have company sprints, I drive to Popey's house at like 4 o'clock in the morning and pick him up, and we drive to the airport, and we then fly to some exotic location and all that sort of thing. So what's going on here? The Wimpet. Please don't let the Wimpets become a thing. Think of something better. Think of something better, please. Dalton says, if you're still talking about the project, Kai likes Linux, don't sweat. It's yeah. So actually, Dalton has some good advice there for you, Kai. Don't feel like because you're not making forward progress, you need to can the project. Just move at a different pace. It's fine to go slower. Slow and steady wins the race, right? It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So just take your time. Don't get pressured. Easy for me to say, but I have been there. Just take it. One day at a time, just a little bit. Yeah, no, Kai, don't stress. There's no expectation placed on you. And also, if I've put any expectation on you, I apologise. I am very interested in the project you're working on. But there's no expectation. Just go at your own speed. Satisfy yourself. If I had my time now, I'd do Ubuntu Mate differently. You know, I got caught up in people latching onto it, and in some respects that was satisfying but ultimately distracting. So just stick to what you want to do. Satisfy yourself. So I'm just gonna catch up on the chat here, and this is Old Man Martin here, not abling to read the screen, so here we go. Dalton has good advice for you, Kai. Listen to Dalton. You're in safe hands there. And if you're watching this on Library, I apologise. You can't see the chat. You can on YouTube. You can't on Library. I like Library a lot. It's a very interesting platform, but they don't do live streaming right now. So here we are on YouTube talking about a conversation you can't see on Library. So Pierre suggests the Wimpressed. So Pierre, you might think you're being novel and original, and I appreciate your contribution. Every teacher I had at school, my school reports were Wimpressive. even when I sucked at the class in question, they were desperate to make that joke, which probably was good for me, but misleading for my parents. So Kai goes on to say that with Ubuntu Lumina Remix, which is what they're working on right now, I am getting so much help and so little information, or so much information or so little help. I am confused and stressed, and my HP laptop not working right doesn't help. Right, okay, Kai. It's just us, right? Nobody else is here. Nobody else is watching or listening right now. It's just us. The fact that there is little to no documentation on how to make an Ubuntu remix and how to progress to becoming an official flavor is this perverse rite of passage. If you can crest that, that is what the tech board are looking for in terms of commitment and capability. Seeing what you've achieved so far, I have every confidence you'll get there. Don't stress out about it. Nobody is putting any pressure on you to do this. Like, it's not us. This is your own pressure you're putting on yourself. Just take a moment to breathe. Go at your own pace. Learn, get it right. I went through this. This is where I started on my journey into, Ubuntu and Canonical. Don't get stressed. I put a lot of pressure on myself. Ultimately, it was deeply unhealthy and not very helpful. You're on the right path. You're doing the right thing. Just go at a pace that's comfortable for you. You will get there, and you know where I am. You know where Popey is. If you get rammed in a corner, let us know. We will help you out. And so will the rest of the community, because you are getting help from the Ubuntu Cinnamon guys, I believe, and David from the Ubuntu Budgie project. Don't put pressure on yourself. Satisfy your own interests. This stream this evening, I could have turned up here, done a whole bunch of stuff about Ubuntu Mate, and that would have been lovely. I didn't want to do that tonight. I just wanted to do something that interested me, and I only got halfway through it, and look what happened. I fucked it off halfway through, just stopped, and now we're having this delightful conversation. So just chill out, follow your interests. Otherwise, what was your passion, it burns out and it becomes something else. And if it isn't your passion, then you're not going to stick with it. The Wimpets. Yeah, sneaky. Let's just snuff out the Wimpets. We're not going there. It's not going to be the Wimpets. That's not what we're doing. We're looking for much better suggestions. Everyone that's left, I know there's a few of you. It's not many. Love you all for staying, mind you. Better name. Not my name. A better name. So Kai goes on to say, you put just the right amount of don't worry about it, and you can do this. And overall, just calming, but I'm unable to make progress. That is the issue. So Kai, right. If you feel like you're wedged and stuck, that will happen. It can happen for sure. If that's where you are, do you know where to find me on Telegram and all of those places whilst we're here chatting? If you just reply in the chat here if you know where to find me. If you don't, I'll explain where I am so we can chat and I can help unstick you. Don't don't worry. You will get stuck. I got stuck for sure. And even now, right, you know, I work with fabulous people. They unwedge my indecision and incapability all the time. So don't worry about it. If you need help, reach out. We'll find a way to assist you. Dalton goes on with more wise words to help with that. So, Corinza Gamer asks, has Ubuntu ever thought about having a mentoring program with applicants or something like that? Does Ubuntu have interns and such? So, this is one of those situations where you need to divide, you know, Ubuntu, which is what everyone recognizes from Canonical. So obviously, if we were to have interns, they would be at Canonical rather than Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a movement, a project. It's not a corporate entity. Canonical is the corporate sponsor of Ubuntu. So to answer your question, no, we don't have interns. But yes, we do participate in Google Summer of Code and what's the other one? Damn it, I wish I was wearing that t-shirt now. Google Summer of Code and Google Coding. So we do participate in those, and we do use those as a mechanism of introducing what are hopefully the next generation of free and open source software developers into the ecosystem of Linux distributions and how Linux distributions operate. And we've done that for several years. I think I've done 3 or 4 of those, either as a mentor or an administrator of the program. So yeah, we do participate at that level. But no, we don't have interns. It's financially and legally complicated when you're a distributed global organization. It's just unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So we engage where we can, where it's uncomplicated. Hopefully I've answered that question. So Sneaky goes on to ask, you do know that Miss Swift has done a bit of coding. Who's Miss Swift? Is that Mrs. Sneaky or Miss Sneaky? Is that right? That doesn't feel right, but who's Miss Swift? Kai goes on to say that they don't know 100%, but they do know some places. Kai, okay, Kai, the easiest way to chat to me is on Telegram. Do you know how to find me on Telegram? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. Sneaky says Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, how did that come up? That escalated quickly. Oh, okay, so Taylor Swift has done a bit of coding. Well, I'm just trying to think of the appropriate way to respond positively to that, but I think I'm going to say that, you know, I'm an admirer of her musical accomplishments, and I'm impressed that she has an aptitude for software development as well. Probably a role model for my daughter in more ways than one. Okay. Kai, are you on Telegram? Clear. No, it doesn't sound like it. Okay, right. How can I get you and I connected? That's the trick. No, I can't message you in any direct way here. So Monica goes on to say, okay, all got to do some domestic things and then gonna settle in for the night. It was lovely chatting with you all. Likewise, Monica, thank you for coming. Always, always delightful. I think this chat has been lovely. Maybe I need to do like the occasional chat where we just do this. I'll create a better set for that. I say better. It's just going to be my fat face bigger. It's not going to be better necessarily, just bigger. There's a few more questions coming in. Your stream has Corinne's Gamer says, your stream has encouraged me to try to contribute to something, but what to contribute to? So many options and so little direction. Yeah, Corinne's, and so if what I'm doing, and I know this evening was a shit show, I was all over the place. I really just wanted to hang out with some people. I just needed a break, and actually the chat we've been having has been wonderful for me this evening, so thank you all for that. But if you're looking to contribute and like coding is not your thing, take a look at Popey's channel. Can I put that in here? I think I can. Let me just... Oh, I can't type. Oh, goodness. There we go. If coding is not your speed and you want something else, take a look at Popey's channel. He's got some great ways to get involved in terms of testing and QA, bug reporting, real sort of level 1 grassroots community contribution stuff. Now, you might be thinking, oh well, Popey's making videos, whatever. But here's the thing. Popey's been making those videos for like 5 or 6 months now. And as a result, there is now 25 people who have coalesced around a QA and testing program within the Ubuntu project, based on Popey gently encouraging people to get involved. So you don't need to be a coder. You know, Popey outlines a number of ways you can get involved. Like, if you are gifted and you speak, read, write multiple languages, you could translate the distro. That's like a super human contribution to the distribution to do that stuff. So I realise I'm coming at this from a different angle from Popey, but Popey's got a lot of useful onboarding places there as well. Take a look at his stuff. And not this evening, but this channel is inspired by what Alan's been doing in the last few months. Look, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for sticking by me in what was a weird live stream. I never imagined that I'd be making these long form, rambly, streamy things. The next one I do is going to be a bit more tight and on point. I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but it will be more tight and on point. So thank you all for coming. Jill, lovely to see you. Thanks for coming along. Sneaky, always a pleasure. I love watching your vlogs, particularly your countryside strolls. Some familiar countryside in many of them, as it happens. I'm going to call it a night here. It was lovely seeing you all. It was lovely having a chat. Actually, I really wish I hadn't bothered trying to code something. I should have just had a chat with you all. It's what I needed. Turns out I thoroughly enjoyed that. So I might find a space every now and again to just have a chat with all of you. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. You're far too generous. But let's call it a night. And I'll see you all soon with something hopefully a little bit more directed and to the point. Bye for now.